Where that came from, I was at an event, a mental health event last night,
Okay.
and they were talking about inpatient, and someone asked a question about, these kids and getting therapy into the schools, and then someone else got up and started talking about how it's difficult to get therapy in the schools because the counselors are all techs and all these things like that. And I've been to these events before and I've spoken before, and I don't know, maybe it's a habit I got to break out of by not wanting to take over the show. Because I had I had the question. I was like, you guys are asking the wrong questions, right? You're asking
Okay.
about how to get more counselors in this school, and people are talking about money, and they have all these programs they're trying to put into place. And I'm like,
Oh, geez.
I can shut all this down immediately. The one
Right.
thing you need is just a good man in the home. That's it.
But I
That's
mean,
it.
parents got to step it up.
Right?
We
I
see it
mean,
every month.
you will save millions and billions of dollars. You'll save time, you'll save energy because simply having a good man in the home, in the child's life, solves every problem there is. Self-esteem, grades, drugs, mental health, physical health, success in life, money, like you name it. Simply having a good man in a child's life solves all that stuff. So
Absolutely. I
I
agree with that. 100,
so
110%.
and so Gordon, you know how I get when I get to going, right? And I'm gonna try not to get going
Yes.
right now. But that's what that's what I kind of wanted to avoid last night when I was at the event because I would have started going in and you wouldn't get the mic from me at that point.
Okay.
And they might
Okay.
have started passing the collection plate around and it would have been a whole thing.
But this
So
is a good thing. This is a good
yeah,
topic. You know why? Because one of the main topics that we see with the parents that we talk to every month at the Real Talk program, right?
yeah,
It's, you know, are your father feeling the pressure of, say, traditional expectations, or a son looking for something better, or the narrative of, say, some sort of fatherhood that's in old times, old beliefs, old behaviors, old situations, different times. But like Doc said, if you have a good father in the home, now, I'm not saying you have to be what do you call it, a helicopter parent, right?
yeah,
But if you can sit on the side and just be able to guide your child
yeah,
and be a good father and a man and have the emotional intelligence to do everything to be able to like do things in a different way, because you will solve, like Doc said, confidence issues, self-esteem issues, self-validation issue, a lot of time friendships, right? So
yeah.
that's the topic we're going to be going on today, because the importance of having a good father in a home, not like, say, I'm not saying the single mothers are stuff, but if my boys were with their mom constantly, I know they would be different kids.
But
Right? Hands down, I already know,
yeah,
because they act different when she's home. They do things different. They nag, they whine, they do all this other stuff, right? Because they're kids. But
yeah,
imagine you doing you're a single mom. Not saying you doing you doing you, but when you say you don't need no man, it kind of like throws me off, because you will raise different children, especially if you're raising boys to be
yeah,
men.
yeah,
You cannot be a man when you're trying to be a woman.
yeah.
Doc, take it
Yeah.
away. Let me get this all set up, and I'll let you take the mic, because give us the rundown what we're going to be going through, because this the AI is going to be looking for intention.
Yeah, yeah. No, we're gonna be today. We're gonna be talking about the how being the 11th man, how important the effect it has on fatherhood. Because again, a lot of the issues that we see in society, can all be solved if we just had more men who were the 11th men in their homes, in their children's lives, right, in society, right. And I want to put this out as well. Part of this is we shouldn't be having kids outside of wedlock, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know things
Mm-hmm.
happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
That Gordon, you were talking about a second ago of these women, single parents,
I
and
get
like
it.
even when we talk about the real talk, a majority of the parents that come are single moms. A majority of them that come. It is rare for us to have like single dads come in or just dads come in, right? A lot of kids are being raised in a single parent home, and a woman can only do what a woman can do.
Correct.
So, you know,
100% correct.
So not gonna beat on a woman for being a woman. Like that's what she's supposed to do. Like you just said, your kids, Gordon, when they're with your wife, they act different than when they're around you. My kids are the same way, right?
Of course.
It's not a bad thing.
No,
That
yeah,
means that she's operating as she's supposed to operate, and my wife is
correct.
operating as she's supposed to operate. Just like a lot of these single moms are operating as they're supposed to operate. But you only have one half of the puzzle.
Being the whole.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we need us as men to step up, and be that whole, right? We need to step up so we can be in our kids' lives. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how confidence plays a role. We're going to talk about how it's important for us to, make sure we get the right mindset, make sure we're careful about who we lay down with, We'll probably even get into talking a little bit about, this free sex culture where we're just going out there trying
Oh
to,
my goodness.
lay down with everything that moves, right? We'll probably get into that as well. But it's important for us to understand that if you're truly going to be the 11th man, there's some major changes that have to be taken that have to take place in your life or in society in order for that to take place.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
Becoming the 11 man, guys, it's not being. I want our concept of 11 man is become the most confident person you can be using the exact same methodology that we have because you need to have certain amount of confidence in your fatherhood. You can make mistakes. That's okay. Me and Keith are both fathers, you know what I mean, at the same time. But we also see, like you said in Real Talk program, we see single mothers. Majority of my room that I handle, where Doc's in the process room and I handle the parents' room, I would say 90% is single moms and they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they make all the excuses of how their father is. But at the same time, like Dr. Samuels, the Godfather says, like, what do you want? You want to be lonely or you're not willing to go on with life because of your own happiness? But I mean, some of those things is really real because a lot of the women in there, just want to be happy. But for what? They're hitting that wall, right? And then when you have kids involved, I mean, that's a whole nother episode.
Yep.
But
Yep.
when you raise your kids in a different way where they can be confident, you don't have to seek even your validation. They become a different person because I'm doing that right now. Like I went to a picnic yesterday with my kid. I'm fortunate to be over there with the kids to have a picnic day with them with these, and you can tell the kids that their parents are not to that level. It's so like prevalent. But that's what we're going to be going over today because the importance of being a good man in a home is important, and that's what the 11th man is all about. Being that person that everybody can communicate, to talk, to control the emotions, be able to solidify where they come from and understand it and pass it on to your kids. Doc, go on because you could be balancing career, you could be balancing family, you don't have the emotion, you want to address situations homes, you could be running a Fortune 500 company and being a manager, but you can't even talk to your kids or they don't even respect you.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is what we're going to be hit
So,
on.
so first, give me 1 second. I got telemarketers calling in. Put this do not disturb on, so I don't want
Oh,
anything to get cut off.
my
Okay.
kids go, is that spam calling?
Yeah.
I said, that's spam calling. I like spam, Dad.
So I'll say this as far as like, I'll first speak to the men that have children, right? Whether you're in the home or you're not in the home, right? So when we think about confidence, remember, we always talk about how confidence is, being able to do the thing you say you're going to do, right?
Yep.
That's essentially what confidence is. So, for instance, how that applies to our children, right? It's us showing up for them when we say we're going to show up for them, right? It's making sure that we're there to guide them. It's making sure that we are in good relationship with their mother, whether you're together with her or not. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in depth as well, because sometimes you got to be really careful who you lay down with, because there's an old saying, you lay down with dogs, you're going to get fleas, right? So if you lay down with a bad woman and she's malicious or has all this trauma on her or whatever, and she's willing to use the kids as pawns against you, um, you got to be really careful and wary of that. But if you are the 11th man, you're going to be aware of what you're getting into before you get into it. But again, we'll talk about the men again who have kids. So being able to show up for your kids and be there for your kids and guide your kids, right, and on the right path, you got to be right within yourself first and foremost.
Absolutely.
How can you pass on anything good to your children if you can't even do it within yourself? Because there's a lot of guys out there that's gonna tell your kids to get a man up, don't cry, you got to be tough, you got to be all this, you got to be all that, you know, and then we end up breaking our children, and then we want to blame them for it. Well, the problem is you didn't really
Ooh.
actualize or understand in yourself the hurt and problems that you had. You didn't know
Yep.
how to be confident. You didn't know how to manage your emotions. And now you don't know how to teach your kids that. So essentially what you're saying is ultimately to your kid, listen, son, I don't know how to be a man. This is what was told to me. I just make it up. So now I'm gonna tell it to you. Now you have to make it up. By becoming 11th man and work with us, though, and you learn the techniques and the strategies to self actualize, know how to manage your emotions without being weak, without losing your masculinity, know how to have confidence, know how to strive for what you want to strive for, know how to balance being strong and tough with still being kind and gentle, right?
Mm.
Having that, learn how to have that
Deep.
balance
Yeah.
because we need that with our kids. Now,
Yes.
obviously, again, our women, right, our wives, their mothers, women are just naturally softer, right? They're naturally softer. They're naturally more loving and caring. They don't want anything bad to happen to their babies and things all that along those lines. That's good. We want that. I don't want my wife to ever stop doing that
Yes.
because I'll be honest. There's sometimes when us just being men, we can be kind of too hard sometimes,
Too
right?
much.
We can be too much, right?
Yep.
We need someone to take the edge off. So I don't want her to stop doing that, but there's got to be that balance. And so, long story short, the importance of being the 11th man when it comes to raising your children and being there in your children's lives, it's everything. And again, they're talking about, oh, there's no money, there's no funding, we need millions of dollars. Do you understand that just being a good man in your child's life and raising your son and raising your daughter, you replace therapists, police officers, judges, lawyers, counselors, what else? Deans of students. You start replacing all these other people, right? Real Talk, the other place we volunteer with. I mean, Gordon, listen. Imagine if all those families had the 11th man in there from the beginning. There wouldn't be a Real Talk.
I wouldn't be talking
You,
to parents.
you,
I
you,
wouldn't be
you
talking
know
to
how many
kids.
nonprofits would disappear overnight, literally overnight, by simply having a good man in the home. We're talking about trillions of dollars, trillions, not billions, not millions, trillions of dollars, because that's what it takes to replace a good man in the home. That's what it
Correct.
takes.
Absolutely.
And so we're not playing small here. Like this is not me just making stuff up. If you want to go look up the stats and about the importance of having a good man, not just a father, right? Because if you're just a man in the home and you think that's enough, I'm telling you right now, it's not enough. Because there's many of us men who are not still, well, some are still broken. I'm not broken anymore, but some are still broken, right? And you had a father in the
You crack.
house.
You crack a little bit.
So, well, I did, but
Yeah.
I got
You
super
crack a little
glue.
bit.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
got,
Yeah.
I'm all sealed up now. I got the glue and all the cracks, so I'm good now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But long story short, like we cannot downplay the importance of having good, strong men, the 11th men in these homes, and the effect it would have on society. Because society is the way it is, and I stand 10 toes down on this because men aren't stepping up and being the men we need to be. Point blank, period. We fall back. We let women take the reins. We let society take the reins. We let the government take over. We let everybody do our job, and then we complain
Step.
about how bad society is.
Yeah.
Where if we
Then you
just
complain.
stepped up, there wouldn't be any issues. All that stuff would go away if we stepped up and were the men we were supposed to be. So, Gordon, like I said, this is why they can't give me the mic because I won't stop. But please go ahead, man.
But you gotta understand one thing, right? It takes a certain individual to have been through all this crap, like you and your past, me and my past. I've been a deadbeat dad. In fact, when I came out of prison, I had to pay $80,000 back in child arrears because they don't stop the child support when you go to prison, right? So I had to pay that because I was that deadbeat dad. They didn't have nothing to do with not just one mom. I have two babies' moms, right?
Yeah,
So I've been that asshole dad that didn't have his shit together, didn't addicted, drugs, criminality, all this stuff. This is why my kids and my family now get the best of me because I made all the mistakes in the beginning, right?
yeah,
Not the beginning. And I'm shooting 50% of forgiveness and redemption because my first daughter, who's now maybe 30 something, she's forgiving me. My other one, I have no connection with. because they hated my guts, right?
Yeah.
In fact, that's the one, the mom, I was going to shoot her in the head. But, but you know what I mean? That's a whole nother story because I went to the hotel room with my SIG and I knocked on the door and one of my friends and she attacked me and I said, you ain't worth nothing. And I
Yeah.
walked away from the whole thing and I never did go back. The parents told me, don't ever come back. I said, boom. And this is like a 6 month year old daughter I have out there. I never did.
Yeah.
But I digressed. But understand that when you have the emotional capability and the fortitude to look at the bigger picture of what you have with your kids and become the 11th man itself, when you can control those feelings, put away those old beliefs, change the behaviors, and guess what? Those kids latch on to what they see,
Yeah.
especially like the kids at Real Talk. They look at you like, oh man, I can't fool this dude because you have to be stern when you have to let them make their mistakes, and you have to guide them at the same time. And you got to tell them why. I had a full blown conversation with my 3 year old telling me why water is transparent. And he goes, Dad, how come you went to the hospital? I'm like, Dad almost never came home.
Yeah.
But how is the importance of being, I wanted to say a perfect man, a perfect gentleman, but having those modern fathers embrace vulnerability with their kids?
Oh, the importance is critical because we're not invincible. And I'm not saying, let's go around and share all our weaknesses and cry all the
Uh-huh.
time and things like that. I'm obviously not thinking and saying that. Men, we still got to be men, but at the same time, though, we have shortcomings. We fall short, and it's probably one of the
Oh,
best things you
absolutely.
could do for your children. It doesn't take away your status in their eyes. It doesn't make you less of a man. Doesn't make you less of a father. Matter of fact, it builds you up and it gives them hope. Because what happens is if you play this role of this rock hard Iron Man and you never sweat, you never break anything like that, um, and then you're always on them and use yourself as the example. They're like, there's no way I can live up to him. I'll never satisfy him. I'll never live up to that. I can't. Right. So
Mm.
when it comes to that, being able to say, you know what, sometimes I do fall short. Sometimes I'm not consistent, son, daughter. Sometimes, I don't show up. I make mistakes. This is how you come back from it. That's way more valuable. Sharing those vulnerabilities that I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I wasn't always this way, or whatever the case, maybe whatever it is you're talking to them about. It gives them hope and lets them see you as human. Like, oh shoot,
Ah, that's big.
that feels what hey, I know exactly what it feels like to be rejected. I know you just got broken up with. I know what that's like. It hurts. Now you're empathizing with them. Now you're connecting with them. Now you're actually building a relationship with them. Right. So it's critical to know how to do that. Right. So I'm not talking about your glory days, like, oh yeah, I bed, 1,000 women and all these things. Not that. No, but sharing your shortcomings as they're relevant, right? As they're relevant. So Gordon, I wouldn't expect you to go into your 3-year-old's room and say, "Hey, son, let me tell you how I did the drug game, and how I almost shot your half sister in the your half sister's mom in the head." I wouldn't expect you to say that, right? That's no, right? However, if your son's disappointed because he lost the game, you know what it is to lose. Yeah, son, no, I get it. I get why that would bother you, why that frustrates you, man. I've been there
I need
before.
him to lose though.
Yeah.
I really do want him to lose because
Well,
I
they're
want him
going
to be
to.
competitive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. They're going to. That's the thing as well. We don't have to engineer hardships for our kids. Life's got that under
It's going
control.
to do it. Yeah.
Life's got that under
It's
control.
going to,
I
yeah.
promise you guys that. Our job is to guide them when they fall, when they're
Exactly.
younger, not just keep
Exactly.
saving them because that's the thing with
I,
mothers.
I wouldn't
You
save him.
know,
Yep.
as much as like I said, I love women. I love the mothers. I really appreciate all that they do. But if a mother could keep their child from every single thing on this planet that would hurt them, they would.
Oh, of course they would.
To their own detriment because they
It's a
love their
natural
child so much.
ability.
It's a natural. But
Yeah.
after the father steps in and says, hey, hey, stand back. Don't do that. The perfect example, if you guys have ever seen 300, I think I used this example before, but in
Oh, the kid.
300, have you seen that, Gordon? Have you
Oh,
seen
I love that
300?
movie. Of course. Look
Okay.
at the suit. Come on. Look at
Yeah,
my backlash. Come on.
yeah. But so in the movie 300, what happened? You had the Spartan mom, and they even said the Spartan women are the only one that really bear real men and all these things like that. But at the beginning of that movie, when they were taking their son away, they're taking Leonidas away to go to the Agogi, right? They had two big, strong men having to hold her back. And I know you're probably saying, Keith, that's just a movie, but follow the illustration.
Metaphorically.
She was a woman who loved her child in one of the strongest, toughest, hardest societies ever, and she still could not deny her female nature, her woman nature, to want to protect
Yeah.
her children. But but the man, her husband, knew best. He said this was going to be best for him. This is what's going to make him a man. This was going to make her a woman, make her responsible, things of that nature. But the father is there not to beat them down in the process, but a father is there to guide them. Like, okay, son, you fell. You know, you made these mistakes. Okay, what are we going to do about it? What can we do different next time? Don't beat your kids up if they make a mistake, but step beside them because that's our role as parents to guide them, to teach them. And a teacher's not going to cuss a kid out because they get something wrong on a test, right? Oh man, you got 50%. Oh, you're so stupid. You're so dumb. How could you? Yada yada. You're so. That's not what a teacher does. A teacher comes and says, okay, you got half of them right. Great. Now let's talk about these other half you got wrong. Let's work through them.
Right.
So us as fathers, our job is to step into that role, allowing our kids to make those mistakes and to fall, and then as we're teaching them, we can share our vulnerability. You say, you know what, hey, I wasn't that great in school as well. Let me teach you how I got better.
Hmm.
That's the importance, gonna tying it all back together. That's the importance of sharing our vulnerability with our children in context. I gotta put that out there, guys.
In
In
context.
context. In context. Do
Ah,
not bring up random things from your past, out of the blue for no reason, right? In context with your kids, because we still want to make sure we're being appropriate as well and being age
yes, yes.
appropriate. Now, maybe later on, Gordon, there might be times when something from our past, some of the hard stuff, we could share when our kids get older. But, you know, ultimately though, we got to make sure that we're doing it in context, but sharing that vulnerability is really important for the development of our sons becoming men themselves and our daughters knowing what a real man is like.
So let me ask you this question now, right? As not say a person or a father, say you don't have the capabilities that you have at your workplace as yourself, past through trauma, old beliefs, things from your grandfather told you that don't work in today's society, right? How does what as a person is expected to do in today's society versus the old society, how can we change that?
Well, for one, I think we need to stop and look at, is it working? Is what we're doing working? I think that's the first and foremost. And what I mean by that, right, especially when it comes to fatherhood, do you have a relationship with
Hmm.
your kids? Do your kids love you, want to spend time with you? Are they open up and talk to you about things? Can you guys have good moments? Are your kid children making good progress? This is how you know your parenting is working. If
Oh,
it's not
okay.
working, right? If you're to using the old methods and it's not working, right? Your kids are stuck in their room all day. They don't ever come out, right? They don't talk to you. They don't open up. Their conversations are short. They don't really want to spend time with you, and unfortunately, Gordon, there's been so many lies we've been told. Oh, they're just
True.
teenagers. That's what they do.
True. Yeah.
That she's just being a girl. He's just being a boy. That's just yada yada yada. We make up all these excuses for our bad behavior. Not listen. I didn't say their bad behavior. We make up the excuses for our
Our
bad
behavior.
behavior, our lack of engagement, our lack of listening, our lack of doing so. So I would say, look at the results. Is what I'm doing getting the results to make a healthy, happy human being in my child, right? And if it's
Let me jump
not,
into this one. Yeah.
yeah, if it's not, right, you got to look at yourself because remember, they didn't bring themselves into this world. Our children came in as blank canvases. We're the ones that paint on them. So if we don't like the
Yeah.
painting, then we, the artist, have to do better with our
Adjust.
painting and
Yep.
change. And so I would say look and then start looking
Oh,
at,
that's a
okay,
beautiful analogy.
yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say, we have to start then looking at, okay, what am I doing? What's working, what's not working, right? Because the thing is, it's not that, if you're not the 11th man, everything you're doing is bad, right?
No,
Because
yeah.
because when I was raising my kids and they were younger, I wasn't the 11th man and it wasn't all bad, but there was a lot of stuff that was not good. And it
Oh,
was based off of a lot of old mindset. You just got to beat the kids, right? Beat them, and then they'll get right, right? Like, Okay. And I found that that did not work.
Didn't
Right.
work. Okay,
I'm
nice,
not
beautiful.
against corporal punishment, but and I'm also not against the use of nuclear bombs. But I also know that you better be in the
Correct.
absolute worst case scenario before you even get to even thinking about that. Did I do every single thing I possibly
Possible.
could before having to press this button? Because that's what corporal punishment's like. It's like pressing that button, right? That's as
Hmm.
extreme it is. So, did I do everything possible before getting to that point? And 10 times out of 10, we didn't. We didn't have conversations. We didn't share any vulnerability. We weren't the 11th man. We didn't teach confidence. We didn't guide. We weren't emotionally available. We didn't create an emotionally safe
Big.
space. Like we didn't do any of those things, right? You
Emotionally
know,
available.
um, we also have to another thing we also have to make sure we're doing is we need to look at, okay, how was I raised and where did my father or mother go wrong? Right? Where did my parents go wrong? But specifically
Question
father,
it.
because we're talking about speaking of men. So specifically, where did my father go wrong? Where did he do right? And then where did he go wrong? What was I missing in my relationship with my father that I'm not giving to my son now? Fill that gap, right?
Yeah.
So
Oh,
we're not
man.
even doing any deep work yet,
Yeah. Not
Gordon. This
even
isn't
some
even
deep.
deep
Yeah.
work. This is simply just looking at what you needed from your father and saying,
Hmm.
okay, I'm going to put that in for my family, for my kids, for my son, for my daughter. I'm gonna do that. Doesn't mean you're there yet, but we're talking about shifting from the old mindset to this mindset because that's another thing as well, especially depending on cultures, right? Because different cultures had different things going on that cause them to be a certain way. So, for instance, I can speak specifically for the black culture. When coming out of slavery. Granted, I'm Caribbean, but like still, I align with the black culture. But coming out of slavery, right? There's when you're being hunted and there's laws being sent against you and people are getting killed on on site. You're being killed and thrown in jail and all these things unfairly. You can't do anything about it. There's a different mindset you have to survive that,
Yes. Absolutely.
right? Yeah, much much different. So thank God we're not in that time now, but we still have to undo. Like we have to recognize that that was for that time, for them to
Hmm.
survive. The way my father's thought. Then granted, he was again from the Caribbean, coming to here, and there's still the racism and things like that. He had a different mindset. My mother had a different mindset. They had a different mindset than what is going to focus. That's going to help me now with my kids. We're in a different
Mm,
time. I can walk outside, Gordon, in my neighborhood's majority white. The area I'm
of
around is
course.
majority
Yeah.
white. I can walk outside and I'm fine. I don't got to worry about anyone shooting me, killing me, lynching me, anything like that. Race back 50 years, that wasn't the case,
Of course.
right? Or 60 years, maybe. That wasn't the case, right? And so I say all that to say, us as men, so the question, of how does the modern man, really learn to parent his children the right way and become the 11th man, while kind of still honoring the past. I know it wasn't a
Hmm.
question, but like recognizing where we came from, taking the good from that, like work
Yes.
ethic and things like that, carrying that forward, and then filling the gaps of, okay, what was I missing? And then we go ahead and fill that in as well. And honestly, guys, if you don't do anything else, if you just watch this, that's gonna take you light years ahead. Because if you just have that principle and teach that principle, and of course, like, some of the things we talked about have the vulnerability as well. And you're going to continue to get better and better as you teach your son to look back and say, whatever you're missing from me, fill that for your kids. And as you keep doing that moving forward, you get better and better and better and better. So I would just say taking those two principles alone is going to make a drastic change for you when it comes to going against what society says and what the old heads used to say about parenting, and so you can have a healthy and be not just have a healthy family, but be healthy in your family.
I mean, being healthy for your family, you gotta have to know how you have to have mistakes. But I want to jump on that on what you said earlier, because your kids came out as a canvas, right? And then you can tell how your kids or how they react from what you show them at home because they're with you 24 hours a day, right? If
Yep.
he has anger issues, if you have anger issues, he's gonna have anger issues.
Yeah.
If he's soft spoken, if you're soft spoken, you don't have your emotions in check. Guess what? He's not going to have that emotion check in your kids, because when I look at the kids that we help at Real Talk with what I compare with my kids and those of what and most people in general, in your marketing, in your sales, in your company, in your what do most people want, right? They
Yeah.
want time, they want to be paid attention to, they want
Hmm.
to have security,
Yeah.
right? When you get all of those, whether it's in your business, in your family, in your likelihood, even in yourself, if you can have all of those, guess what? You don't have to seek outside social media validation. You don't
Mm,
have to look for a lot of different things that it's going to be, because you have, when your kids know that you're emotionally available, they touch you, you're there, they have confidence, they know you're going to be there for them, right? They have security. When they have security, they can move forward with their, let's say, their mistakes. Like you said,
yeah,
they have, you're just there to guide them. I make the kids, because this is all the mistakes I've had from before.
yeah,
Being what they call a deadbeat dad,
yeah.
thinking I can just throw money at them. They don't want money.
That's
They
right.
want experiences. They want
Yep,
time. They want
yep,
attention. They
yep,
want you to play with them. They
yep.
want you to ride the scooter. And then when they fall, what are you supposed to do? I'm not going to be their mom. I'm like, what did we learn? What did we catch up? What did we do? And how we get back up?
Yeah.
I said the other day they was learning how to ride their bike. Right? I said, I'm going to make you guys a ramp. In fact, I put a card on their spokes to turn them into motorcycles. His face lit up, Doc. They
Yeah.
thought it was the coolest thing ever. I said, now they want to do, I'm gonna build you a ramp like how we used to do it. Right? But those are the things that, instead of me throwing money at them or throwing things like making memories, the memories I have with them is them falling down and the dog pulling them with the leash. Right, or something like that. Right? Stupid things.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they can always come back to me because I offer them that guidance.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I lose my shit sometimes. Don't get me, because it's frustrating, because sometimes my wife is gone. Like she was gone for like 3 days. But at the same time, what I do will reflect how they react to other people, and it
Yeah.
goes on me.
Yeah. Very much so. And I just want to two things. I'll say this, Gordon. There's definitely ways. Honestly, there's ways to make it so we don't lose ourselves. Lose our stuff with our
True,
kids.
true.
But again,
I'm
that's a
human.
topic for another time.
I get cracks too.
But the sake, we all make mistakes, right? We all
Yes,
make
yes,
mistakes,
yes.
right? This isn't about being perfect, right? The 11th
No,
man isn't a perfect man because no man is ever perfect. No one's perfect. But when we can recognize that we can get better and do better, that's what means to be the 11th man. But I just want to share this and then we'll move on. When you are doing here's a key thing that if you're doing it right as a father. When your kids, and Gordon, you said it, when your kids are not seeking outside validation. And that stuck out to me because I was thinking about my kids. And this is
right?
not me toot my own horn, but I'm going to toot it a little bit. I'm going to play it a little bit.
Of course. Go ahead.
Uh,
You deserve it.
my kids, when they say they do not care about outside validation, like
That's a
almost to a fault. I'm like, bro, you got to put some lotion on when you go outside. No, oh my gosh. I'm like, bro, you gotta put some lotion on. You didn't do your hair? No one cares. I'm not worried about that. I'm like, you could at least, do your
yeah.
hair.
Look
They
decent.
just they just they just are not concerned about what anybody thinks. They're not looking for their validation. They're not posting pictures online trying to how many likes can I get and all these things like that. I'm not saying my kids are perfect, but what I am saying is that they're in a way better spot because guess what? My daughter's 25 and not pregnant, not
Oh,
sleeping
that's good.
around,
Yeah.
not seeking, oh, I got to give my body up to all these guys to make me self feel. No.
Wanted.
Why?
Yeah.
Because just like you were saying, Gordon, she can come to me, right? She can come to me. She doesn't have to worry about it. She can get authentic love without having to give it anything up. Just real, genuine, authentic love. We laugh. We joke. We went to a hockey game the other day, had a
Oh,
blast,
nice.
laughing and joking and everything like that. Great relationship. No, like it's great. Same thing with my sons. Same thing. So I say all this to say is you know, when you're doing it right, that's a big marker. Your kids are not seeking outside validation, from other people. And a lot of times, what ends up happening is you guys who have kids that are in school that are acting up. A lot of times, that's because your kids are seeking validation. They're trying to get it somewhere because they're not getting it at home. So I'm gonna stop there because again,
That's
someone
all
take the
right.
mic.
Because
Take
this is
the
why
mic
you're
when you're
doc.
done.
This is why
You got it.
you're doc. This is where
I
you're doc,
know.
because you have a lot to give. You know what I mean? A lot to
Yeah.
give, and you're passionate about everything else, just like myself. But I wanted to ask, with the
Yeah.
emotional revolution that's going on with society nowadays, How is it important building, like you said, you hit it on the head because you built a legacy with you and your daughter to have
Yes.
that type of relation.
Yeah.
And that's what most people, because at the end of the day, like especially for me in the hospital, right? When you think about it, all the things that you've, all the materialistic things, all the stuff that you have, all the things, where do you go back to? Fortunately, I came out of my situation, but when you're in your hospital bed, you just grasp onto the memories, the
Mhm.
relationship, like you said, your relationship with your daughters, all the mistakes I made. Have I redeemed myself through my kids?
Yeah.
Knowing, like Tony Stark, right? Tony Stark, when that one of the movies, when he said, like, when the dad says, "You're my greatest gift, my creation," the what do you call that? The technology is up to par back in his day. So he left a message for Tony Stark as Iron Man and the technology. How does that compare an intentional fatherhood with your kids now being the 11th man? Oh, that's a deep one, huh?
Yeah. I would say, as far as like legacy is concerned, right?
And it's long-term impact.
Yeah, long-term impact. The legacy is gonna be going like you were saying before, it's gonna be in your interactions with them, your daily interactions. You gotta be there. You gotta be there. Like I can't stress that enough. If you have a job that takes you away from the home often. I remember I was watching John Cena was talking about this, and they were asking him about when are you gonna have kids, and he's like, I don't have a career that's conducive to that. I'm on the road, like 90 days at a
Yes.
time, 100 something days at a time. Uh, you got to be there for your children. So a lot of times,
Smart.
we get into
Yeah.
these situations where we have kids and we're not ready to actually be parents. And
Oh, that's a different thing.
that is a different thing. And let me also preface this: I'm not. If anyone knows me, I am very much against abortion. Very, very much against abortion. Um, and so I'm not saying, oh, well, if you're not ready, just kill the kid. I'm not saying that, right? What I am saying is
Okay.
we should be mindful about what we're doing, right? Because we're creating a legacy. When you create a child, you're creating a legacy. And the children, how they come out, that's a legacy of the relationship and a legacy of you. How do you want to
Yes.
be remembered, right? Because that's what's going to move along, right? And maybe you can have a legacy, maybe you built a big business and you built the most successful business or things like that, but ultimately no one's going to remember you when it's all said and done. I don't know who Wells and Fargo were back in there. I don't know them, right? All I know is I bank at whatever they created a long time ago. But who's going to remember them though? Or should remember them if they were good men in their families, their children, their great
Their families,
grandchildren.
right?
Because what's going to end up happening is whatever you set and perpetuate forward, that's what's going to keep going forward, right? you know and you're either going to remember through those actions like your great grandfather was this way, your grandfather was this way, and things like that, and this is what he taught us, and this is the lessons that we had, and things whatever, right? That's what's going to pass forward, right? So you're actually creating a legacy, but you can't create a legacy if you're not there to create it, if you're gone all the time, if you have a broken home, if you're not showing up for your children. How can you create a legacy if you're not there? Your legacy, you're going to be absent. So, in order for you to create that legacy, in order for you to pass down the right things for, and you got to be the right type of man and produce the right things that you want to get passed down. I don't want to pass down trauma. I don't want to pass down abuse. I don't
Yeah.
want to pass down neglect. I don't want to pass down, fake stoicism where, I'm just scared to open up and share my feelings. I don't know my feelings. I don't want to pass that down to my kids. I want to pass down strength. I want to pass down humility and grace and power and work ethic and love and mercy. I want to pass those things, experience it, because kids will do more of they will follow more of what you do rather than what
Yep.
you actually say. So you can say all the
Absolutely.
right things, but if you're doing all the wrong things, that's what your kids are going to
It's
do.
null and void. Yeah,
Yeah.
null and void.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
done.
null and
Yeah.
void. Right. So those actions are so important. So as far as like being the 11th man, like this is not just about making more money or I'm good for myself. No, this is about you actually creating a legacy if you're a father or if you plan on becoming a father, because I know a lot of men want monogamy. I know what the world says. It's like, oh, just sleep around. Most people want monogamy. They just want to make sure it works. And unfortunately, we live in a society that shows that it doesn't. And I'm not going to get into relationship stuff, because that's more Carrie's thing. I mean, it's my
No,
thing
it's
too,
our
but
thing. It's
like,
our thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
Carrie just gives us a point of view, a
but
female point of view. Yeah.
But I know we're here for the guys though, like specifically
Yeah.
developing the guys, you know. So I don't want to change anything up. But long story short, though, if you really want to create that legacy, if you really want to pass something down, then become what you want to pass down. If you want to pass
It was
down wealth, you have to
nice.
become wealthy. If you want to pass down emotional stability, you have to become
Right.
emotionally stable, right? And it's such an honor, like for you, even from my own example, it's such an honor to see that happening in a parent of my own children right now. When I can watch my
I mean,
son in a
that's amazing.
relationship and he knows how to communicate and he knows how to open up and share and he knows how to set boundaries and he knows how to, it's
Ooh.
such an honor to see that playing out in front of me. It's an honor to see my daughter, not just giving herself up to any guy because she wants to feel value. It's an honor to see that, right? But it's not so a surprise though, because that's what I've been pouring into them for the last 25 years, 19 years, 15 years, 12 years. Like that's what I've been pouring, I'm sorry, 11 years. That's what I've been pouring into my children, right? But if I wasn't here, if I was not in their lives, if I wasn't becoming the man I needed to be,
True.
then
Yeah.
I would have nothing to give them. And the ultimate gift you can give them is that legacy, that
Yeah.
emotional stability, the boundary. That's the ultimate stuff you can give them above all else. Because there are many millionaires and billionaires that are unhappy. There are many
Oh,
people that
I
are
know
just
some of them.
successful. They're unhappy,
They're-
you know?
That's all they have
Yeah.
because that's all they have they can cling to.
And it's
Because
not enough.
and it'll never be enough. In fact, if you're a professional, you have kids, and you want to rekindle some of the relationship with your kids, this is what some of the programs that we have in this setting is going to be for, because we want you to have the relationship with your kids. You might not have met them, but you also have to become the 11th man that stopped following and chasing society's rules for something that ain't going to be even working for you when you get back in the ground. Because if you was to ask your children right now, what would they tell about you?
Ooh,
What would they
that
say about
part,
you while you're living? Imagine
that
when you're
part,
dead,
that part.
right?
Guys, think about that.
You
That
think
part,
about that really deeply,
that
right?
part. Yep.
And that's your legacy. It's not going to be the money. They'll blow through money. In fact, I just seen something. One of the big real estate investors, their son, used a family name to freaking scam people out of billions of dollars. What is that going to end up?
Sounds about right.
Hey, you know what I mean? Or you
Sounds
might
about
have
right.
you might have somebody that's this type of person. Now, I'm not saying whether whatever spectrum you have, it's what you're gonna have with your legacy. Because, like Tom Brady said it best, when the kid asked him who's your hero, and Tom Brady broke down, he said his dad was his hero, nobody else.
Yeah.
And if you remember that, because he got all emotional about it, because you look at the unseen heroes of your family's life is you, the father.
Yep.
Now, if you're not right, what will happen? I mean, for the remaining half of my life, I've been trying to make it right with me, myself, God, and everybody else for the mistakes I made from my past two children.
Yeah.
Which one do you want to be? Fortunately, my two sons, right, which is they're obnoxious in both of them, right, because they're supposed to be at this age, but
Hmm.
at the same time, you can tell they're loved.
Yeah.
They know how to be confident. They're not seeking that validation. Yeah, they play their video games and stuff like that. But at the same time, what would they say about their dad? Oh, he buys me everything, but no substance. You know, he don't spend time with me, but he'll take me on a trip with no context.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Now, if you're in that situation like the latter, this is why we want to offer you this workshop coming up in November, December, obviously to 2026. You'll even get some of Carrie's women's insights from a feminist point of view. This is why she's so golden to me,
Hmm.
because she used to be that girl, that she was retarded girl. And I have others coming along to join us because we want to help you build your legacy. This is why Doc is, and if you need professional help, scan that code in the back of Doc,
Yep.
because, or take the assessment and let's go, the boundaries and brotherhood, where, or join the school community. And now it's even going into a Reddit community that I have to build right now,
Okay.
because We want you guys to be the best version of yourself, even if you're not there yet,
Yeah.
right? Doc, man, this is a pretty intense one. We're
Yeah.
both passionate about it. And I want to applaud you, Doc, because the kids, if your kids, you have a relationship, this is where I want to shoot for because I have to, you think about it. My kids is going to be bigger than me. They're huge already, right? Now, I mean, the white side of them, if they're as big as my brother-in-law and my father-in-law, they're German men,
Oof.
like big husky men, right?
Yeah.
So now, if they're going to be big like them, I have to kind of like guide them now to have the respect for me
Yeah.
so that I'm going to be what, 70 something by the time they're 18.
Yeah.
I can't beat them up. I can't be the old me. But no, I mean, all jokes aside,
Yeah.
if you're looking for help, scan that code behind the. Watch out for our pop-up workshops or challenges. We have assessments, we have workbooks, we have PDFs, we have e-signs, we have things that will help you get to where you need to be. And if you need more help, please reach out, DM, and put the word assessment. Doc, close the show, my brother.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is a good
Um,
one.
yeah. Yeah. Honestly, guys, this is just adds to why it's so important to be the 11th man. And I'll close it out with this story. When I was working in the school system, working with kids, you know, and I was starting to change. You know, when you have kids that aren't even your own, that say, "I wish you were
Mm.
my father," right? That's very telling. It's heartbreak. It's flattering, but it's also heartbreaking
Yeah.
because I only had him for such a small period of time.
So a small time.
That was
Yeah.
it. I only had it for a small period of time. But when you have kids running up to you and they're giving you hugs and they want to spend time with you, they want to talk to you and open up and they share with you and they're talking more to another man,
It's
right?
heartbreaking.
Other than you. Now, granted, I love kids, loved helping them because again, I was obviously we're all kids at one point in time. That's a big reason as to why I do what I do because I don't want them to experience what I experienced when I was growing up,
Me too.
right?
Absolutely.
Um, and so, but to hear them say, like, man, I wish you were my father,
Ooh. Ooh. Like, ooh.
that's heartbreaking.
Ooh. Yeah. Ooh.
And
Ooh.
you may never hear that. You may never hear that, but that said a lot. There are a lot of guys, a lot of girls that are like, yeah, this person was more of a father to me than my own father. They showed up more for me than my own father did. They came to
Yeah.
my games. They came to this. They came to that. They did it or whatever, whatever. Right. You don't, that doesn't have to be you. It doesn't have to be your fate. And even if that is you right now, you can't connect with your child. You can't connect with your children, right? You can change that around, right? Like I said, like we said earlier in this podcast, right? I didn't have it all perfect together in the beginning. There was a lot of shifts I had to make inside of myself. A lot of things that we're teaching you, we're going to teach you even more. But if you're willing to own it and willing to say, hey, I've fallen short and I need help. I don't want to lose my kids. I don't want them to lose it. Um, then this is where you sign up with us. This is where we can help you so that you can be the father you need to be. You can show up how you need to show up for your children and truly become the 11th man. Why? So that honestly, not just your children can be better, your family can be better, and you can experience like what I experienced this weekend when all my kids came together, and I was full of so much happiness and joy. You would have thought I had no
Joy.
problems in the world, none.
Joy.
You
Joy.
would I wasn't thinking about any financial issues. I wasn't thinking about growing my business. I wasn't thinking about marketing. I wasn't thinking about emails. I wasn't thinking about anything else but just the pure love and joy that I was experiencing with my children. And my wife as well. My wife was there too. But that pure love and joy, no heartache, no hurt, no pain, no nothing, just pure love. You can have that too once you become the 11th man. And the beautiful part about it is, going like we also said earlier, is it doesn't just stay in the family and at home. It spans out to every other aspect of your life as well.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
If you guys want to experience that type of joy, or if you think that's so far away, it's not, guys. Come work with us. Watch for the stuff. Watch for the landing pages. Watch for the products coming out. We'll be coming out with a whole stuff like that. Not some of this fluff kind of stuff. This is put the work in.
Yeah.
Guys, Gordon Watt from Boundaries and Brotherhood. I'll see you guys next week, same time next week.
You guys take care. Have a great and blessed day. We'll see y'all then.
All right. Aloha. Bye. Ben, I'll see you later. All right, let's end that one. Let's pause that one. All right. Ooh, that's a good one.
That was a great one.
That was a great one.
Yeah, yeah. No, I definitely enjoyed that. That was really good.
Yeah, that was